Hey everyone, welcome to today's tutorial. Today we're going to be working with a collection from Heidi Swapp called Wolf Pack. I had to buy a paper pad this time that has 36 single-sided sheets, along with the ephemera pieces, the puffy stickers. I also got thickers to help myself with some journaling, and they coordinate with this collection, so it was an easy decision to buy those. And I also got this sticker sheet, which is the equivalent of a 12 by 12 sticker sheet. It's just that it's double-sided inside the packaging. Okay, so some of these sheets inside of this paper pad, there are 2 of them, and other sheets there's only 1 of them. So I'm going flipping through all the different sheets that there are in this paper pad. But at the end, I don't really show you the duplicates. So there are some that are duplicates. If you really want to see which ones are duplicates and which ones aren't, you can find this information online. The back of this paper pad shows what is doubled up and what isn't. Okay, so I went with neutral colors for my cardstock. I went with Twill from Basil, which is that grayish paper, and then I went with Sahara Sand from Stampin' Up, which is more of a sandy color. I wanted to stick to neutrals with this pack. There's a lot of neutral colors in this pack anyways. There's not a lot of accent colors, but it worked best with my pictures to stick with more neutral colors. Okay, so these 2, this like bark kind of paper here, I wanted the distressed edging to be on the outsides of my double page layouts. So that's gonna be my page number 1 and 2, and then that tree paper is going to be the backgrounds for my page 3 and 4, and then I need 3 accent papers to go with that. So I went with this darker based paper that has some leaves on it, just because it's darker, I like it. And I went with this greenish neutral colored striped paper that's going to go on top of the tree background pages, and then I used that black and white patterned paper for my 3rd accent. We have cutting diagrams in my tutorial videos, and I just kind of want to let you know how to read them. So there's the number in top in inches, and that's going to be the size that we're going to cut that cut piece into. And there's a number below it in a circle. So a lot of the times we're making 4 pages or 6 pages when we're using these cutting diagrams, and all these cut pieces can sort of get very disorganized. So that number inside of the circle there represents a pile that you're going to put that cut piece into. So for a 4-page tutorial, we're going to make 4 piles. And for a 6-page tutorial, we're going to make 6 piles. So the numbers are going to be either 1 through 4 or 1 through 6. So page 1 is going to have all the cut pieces that have a circle with the number 1 inside. And so on for the 4 or 6 pages. So now we're going to go ahead and take all pieces of our cardstock, and we are going to cut 1 inch in, 1 inch from the top, and 1 inch from the bottom. And we're going to make a straight line on all 4 sides of each of these pieces of cardstock. What we're basically doing is cutting a 10 by 10 inch square out of the center of this piece of cardstock. The border is going to be put into our pile, and the center, the 10 by 10 inch center, is going to be put to the side, and we're going to be cutting it with another cutting diagram as soon as we're done cutting out all of these squares. Okay, so for our background papers, we are going to be cutting off 0.25 inches on one side and 0.5 inches off on the other side. The reason why we're offsetting it is because we want the insides of our double layouts to be touching the edges so that they look like they're connected. When your paper goes through the cutter in the same direction that it would be on your layout, that's the side that you want to cut 0.25 inches off on. So when your page is sideways through the cutter, you actually want to cut 0.5 inches off on that side. Okay. So here when we're assembling the backgrounds for our pages, I'm putting the distressed edge of that bark to the outside of the page of our double layout here. And I'm lining up the pages so that the insides of my two layouts are touching. So what I like to do is I like to line up so all of my outside edges are even and straight. And sometimes that might mean that the inside of your layout needs to be trimmed a little bit, depending how straight your cuts were. So here, what I do is I line it up so that my outsides are nice and even, and then I'll flip my layout over and I'll just trim the edges if there are some that stick out. So here, that's what I did here. Okay, so for this next layout here, I messed up in the cutting guide. Normally the insides of our background pages are supposed to touch. And that means that on that side, we're only supposed to cut 0.25 inches off, not 0.5 inches. So here I'm trying to decide what I want to do to fix that. So either I'm going to do like a normal single page layout and I'm just going to make all of my outside edges the same, or if I decide to touch my two background pages together on the inside of my double layout, that means that we're gonna have instead of a 0.25 inch border on the outside edge, we're gonna have a 0.5 inch border on the outside edge. So that means that my border along the outside of my whole layout won't be even. So here I decided I like the paper touching the inside of my layout better, and I'm gonna have a bigger spacing on the outside of my pages. And that's because I screwed up in my cutting guide by cutting 0.5 inches on both sides of these two pages instead of 0.25 inches on the one side. So I thought about, getting rid of these papers and replacing them with another set of two identical pages from the paper pad. But you know what? 10 years from now, when people are looking at this layout, or even when I'm looking at this layout, is that really going to matter? And is that going to be the most important part of the page to me? I don't really think so. So I think mistakes always happen in crafting, and sometimes it totally destroys a page and sometimes it doesn't. And in this case, I think it's going to be just fine. So I'm going to live with it. And one day I probably won't even remember I did it. So I don't think it ruins the whole page. So I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Okay, so while I'm getting ready here, I'm gonna address a few questions that I get from the week before. Now, someone asked or mentioned that when working with directional papers, so papers that have a direction, so sometimes that's writing or images that can be upside down or stripes, with directional pages, they mentioned that sometimes they get the directional pages wrong and they end up in a different orientation than I have them. My best advice would be to pause the video in the cutting guide and make sure that your paper is going through the cutter in the same way that my page is going through the cutter in the video. So if you want your pages to look just like they do in the pictures or the same as my pages, my advice would be to pause the cutting guide in those sections and really see how I'm turning the paper or what I'm doing in the video. And as far as trying to plan it out, that's something I do sort of before I start my video, is I kind of try and think about how they're going to be on the pages, and so that sort of influences how I'll send them through the cutter. But to really try and explain that, I don't know, it's different every time. So it's just something I think about before I start my video, but I don't really have any rules or answers for that. Another question was the white papers that represent my photo areas. So like that say 4x6 photo or 3x4 photo area. Do I remove those white papers when I put my pictures on? Yes, I definitely do remove those white papers. Those white papers are actually just scrap pieces of paper that I print off on 8.5 by 11 sheets, and I just like rough cut them. There is not, so I remove those white papers, and most of the time they get totally destroyed when I'm taking them off, and I just throw them away. Most of the time they're scrap paper anyways and have writing on the back and whatever. So I definitely remove those white papers. They're there simply just as a guide and as a visual tool in my videos. Now I wanted to finish off this area on the right bottom side of my page. So I added another journaling card, but I thought about adhering it directly to the page, and then I decided I wanted to pop it up just because I didn't want it to be so flat there. And I felt like it needed just another element to it, so another layer. So there was this clear banner here that said explore, and I wanted it to overhang, because it was clear, over the field notes area. So what I did is I took out some zip dry, which is like a clear liquid adhesive, and I just put 2 little dots of it at the bottom, which are kind of tucked behind that sticker with the trees on it, so you don't really see it. Otherwise you would see the adhesive. I really don't have good adhesive around the house right now for vellum. A lot of my adhesive it's not clear. So there is better products than what I used in this video for clear type of embellishments like there are in this kit. So here I directly adhered this Take a Hike piece of embellishment, and then to finish off that little cluster, I finished it off with a heart that I adhered with foam tape. Okay, so for the titling at the bottom of this 4x6 photo area, I'm gonna put the word trail, and I think I'm gonna leave it like that for now. And if I want to put the trail name, I'm just gonna put a little strip, like with typewriter type of font right above it that I'm gonna pop up. Okay, and to finish it off, I used a puffy sticker, the wolf shape that says wild and free, kind of just above that rectangle piece. And that's how I finished off this layout. Okay, so the inspiration for this week's tutorial for pictures wise was a quick weekend away that we had taken in the mountains, and we stayed in a hotel and we went for a quick hike in a national park. So I didn't want to use camping paper because we didn't camp, we stayed in a hotel, but I still wanted the theming of my pages to be outdoorsy and about being out in the wilderness and about being out in the wild. And I really loved this collection, and they have some nice sayings in there like take nothing but pictures and leave nothing but footprints. So it was just a perfect collection for my photos. Okay, so here I decided that this 3x4 photo area just made it a little bit too cluttered right there, and I wanted to kind of create more of an embellishment area in that spot down there. So instead of using a 3x4 photo area, I'm going to change that to a 3x3 photo area with this frame that came in with the embellishments. So that's just sort of how I improvised this layout a little bit in that one spot. And then I put that adventure is out there puffy sticker at the bottom of that 3x3 photo area. And that's kind of how I'm going to leave that area. So we're going back to the other side here on the bottom of that 3x4 photo area. I popped up this round sticker that says this weekend. And then I directly adhered an embellishment behind it that said, it's opener out there in the wide open air. And then I put a puffy sticker, or a normal sticker, sorry, at the top of that 4x6 photo area that says adventure. So I'm using these stickers here to put the date on this popped up sticker that says this weekend. And the date is October 4th of 2015. That shows you guys how far behind in my scrapbooking I actually am. I mean, in some ways, I guess, being this far behind in my scrapbooking, it really allows me to bounce around and with the pictures that I still have to scrapbook, and it lets me work with a lot of the new releases that come out, because most of the new releases they pertain to something that I've had going on in the last 4.5 years or so. So sometimes I let the releases and what inspires me, a new product, dictate sort of what I'm scrapbooking. Like if it's, the Halloween stuff is coming out soon, so I'll probably work on some Halloween pages from, past years, and I'll sort of let the photos dictate, the color schemes and things like that. So at this point, I feel like it's almost a blessing to be this far behind, because it's giving me opportunities to make more things on my channel and play with kits that I probably wouldn't have been able to buy because I didn't have any pictures to go with the kits. So it's given me some good opportunities to work with kits that I normally probably wouldn't have. So here in this cluster, I'm just finishing it off. I put this titling that says Fearless and popped it up as well, along with some footprints to finish it off. And I'm just using some of these tree die cuts to finish off some of the clusters. I really, really hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial. I don't normally work with kits that have paper pads just because you end up with so much leftover product. But this collection really, I felt like it really suited my pictures really well. So I took a chance and bought it anyways. And I bought some of the coordinating product, as you can see. And these layouts turned out way better than I thought they would. So I will see you guys next Friday with a new tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week.